Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. Everyone was right. I'm so crushed. My post history details what happened. Well, everyone here was right. I had an anonymous phone call at work today. He told me she was screwing around on Snapchat. I called her and told her to get home now. I forced her to sign in and saw everything. Over 15 guys getting sexts and naked pics for the last 6 months. It gets worse. After some pressure and a long argument, I convinced her I'd stay if she told me the whole truth. She screwed someone in my bed, in my home. I gave her everything. I gave her my whole life. We grew up together, with each other since 17. 13 years down the drain. I'm so freaking destroyed. My poor kids. My poor babies. I took her ring off and walked out. Lawyers tomorrow. I'm so screwed up right now I can't even think. I was stupid and did not read the rules properly. Update posted below. Update. I went to the house today, as I should not have left originally. I sat her down and told her how it is. It's my parents' house. She is to leave. Tonight. I'm giving her 2 days to get her affairs in order, and then taking the new vehicle I just purchased for her and selling my Mustang, as I need a 6-seater. And she cannot afford the payments on the vehicle. She's had a comfortable home wife life, and an entry-level job will not pay for that SUV, and I'm not paying it for her. Unfortunately, I cannot afford a lawyer, so I have applied for legal aid. 10 business days to even hear if I qualify. In lieu of that, we drew up a separation agreement together. She gets nothing. I'm giving her $200 to get on her feet. She'll have no vehicle by Friday. She has to leave the house. Kids stay with me until she can find housing, then we'll revisit custody split. So far, neither of us has any interest in changing the kids' lives. She has agreed to sign divorce papers and ask for nothing as signed in the agreement. I already paid the phone bill for the month, so she can keep it until October 20th. Then she is either to pay the balance and transfer to her own name, or I cut off the phone. I work nights, but it sounds like my job is willing to give me a transfer onto day shift so I can be there for the kids and not have her in my house any more than necessary. Today was absolutely the hardest day of my life. So absolutely crushed and broken. She finally formally apologized on her way out, a real proper apology. When she started her vehicle, I closed the door and collapsed against it, bawling. I don't feel like I can handle this right now. It took everything I had to come back from the first time this happened. I am so utterly destroyed. Update. Post history has details. I'll spare the explanation again. 3 days out from the worst day of my life. Our anniversary is tomorrow. Would have been 14 years together. I keep finding myself making excuses to text her, random crap about the kids. I hate myself as soon as I hit send. Because of the way everything went down, she has been here every day. Not sleeping here, but spending the day with the kids. I'm pissed off because I don't even get the validation of telling her how I feel for the sake of being a bigger person. I have to save face for the sake of the kids. She pretty much got off scot-free in that regard. I pulled the ring off her finger and walked out, which felt pretty good and a little badass at the time. But now, there's so much crap I want to say to her about how she destroyed everything. My life and our children's. I can't say anything to her because I'm fearful if we fight, she'll try to take me for everything. And right now, she's being good about that kind of stuff. Not that we had much anyway. But on the eve of our anniversary, I'm finding myself a little less sad today and more angry at her than anything. And all of her stupid little toxic friends that helped her hide it. She destroyed my career. I kicked her out. She has nowhere to go, so I cannot work. Now full-time dad to 4 kids. I'm being forced to sell my Mustang I've had for less than a year, and I've dreamed about since I was 7. My kids are in utter emotional shambles. God, I could go on about everything she destroyed all night, but I'm pretty sure I'm rambling enough as it is. She went to a friend's wedding today. It's the first full day of no communication I've had with her in 13 years. I find myself typing out messages and deleting it, trying to make excuses to talk to her. Thing that bugs me the most is she didn't even try to call her kids today. No messages asking how they were doing. Didn't call them to say goodnight. Nothing. I don't know. This has been a long rant. I'm sorry. Update. Post history goes through everything. I took a lot of advice from here to heart and have gone full no contact unless it's about the kids. It's been difficult. Ever since I started, she's been trying to emotionally pull me back to her. She keeps dropping sexual hints, trying to get me into bed, etc. But I came to a revelation about day 11 or 12. Just out of nowhere, I got angry. I haven't really been angry through any of this. Sad, depressed, and everything else you can think of. Yes, but not angry. This was brought on by me accidentally stumbling upon one of the guys she had in her Snapchat, and I discovered he's older than my father, or around the same age. I don't know why, of all the things that happened, it took that to set me off, but now I don't see her as anything but disgusting. She's a gross pile of human stink that is just remnants of something I used to know. Also, her priorities have been making me hate her even more. Around here, we have this thing called low-income housing. When you don't work or have kids, they will basically give you a place to live for free, a full-on 3 or 4 bedroom apartment. To me, and anyone logical, that would be the first phone call I would make. Here we are, coming up on week 3, and she still has not made that call because her only priority has been finding her next lay. Whatever. She's out of my house, and I'm mentally planning to be the sole parent of these children. My father was in a similar situation when he was my age. After a year and a half, the woman in question signed over all of her rights to the children and walked away, never to be seen again. I'm fully expecting that to happen to me the way things are going. I am still unable to return to work due to the fact that she chose to live with her friend in a 1-bedroom place. Custody right now with the kids is basically 97% me, 3% her. So as it stands, I'm going to remain on unemployment until she can get her act together. I have plenty of money saved, and my employer was the one that suggested this, so no matter what, I have a job to go back to when this is over with. There's been some huge uplifts for me over the last 6 to 7 days as well. As soon as I changed my Facebook status to single, I had more women than I thought ever knew I existed adding me and trying to talk to me. I gotta say, that made me feel pretty good. I'm not that great looking of a guy, but I guess in my age group, stability and loyalty is rare. There's a girl I used to work with that started talking to me out of the blue that I always thought had a crush on me. We've been talking 12 hours a day for the last 4 days. Given how little my soon-to-be ex-wife put into our relationship, it feels flattering to be pursued. I've been clear with my intentions from the get-go, so we're just talking, but goddamn, it's nice. And now to the best part. This morning, day 18, I woke up on my couch and I was happy. I no longer miss her. I don't even realize when it happened. I just suddenly became self-aware that I hadn't thought of her in any way other than anger for at least 2 days, and I don't miss her being here. Hopefully, things keep looking up, but so far, things are moving along for me. Thanks for reading. Update. My post history has the details. It's way too long to post again. I haven't posted on here since about the first month. Things got pretty hectic and crazy. I'm not even right sure where to begin because there has been so many things happening. I think I'll just go month by month. We separated at the end of September, and as previously stated, I had to walk away from my career to look after our children. Throughout the month of October and November, she skipped scheduled visits so much that I was unable to return to work in November, like originally planned. Out of 18 scheduled visits, she saw them 6 times. Ended up filing for unemployment benefits, which I got approved for. Instead, I chose to focus on developing skills to work from home. In December, she started dating a guy and forced the children into an introduction with him by having them over to his house for the weekend. She had known him approximately 2 weeks at this point. He ended up dumping her 3 days before Christmas. In January, she decided to move to a different town. Things went from an agreed upon 50-50 to her only seeing them on weekends. She tried to introduce the children to another guy. Thankfully, she listened to me this time and opted not to. She skipped many of her visits, got one of her boy toys to message me on her birthday demanding the children call her, and rarely calls. February, I believe she saw them twice. Around the middle of February, she decided that when she secures her own housing, the children are going to live with her, with me only being able to see them 6 days a month. We had a written agreement done up that stated the deal was 50-50. So due to that, I did what I should have done months before and hired a lawyer. Throughout all of this, she refused to get a job. She stole the government child benefits to live off of. I eventually got approved for this and back paid. She convinced one of her sexual partners to buy her a car. It blew up the first time she picked up the kids, and she has refused to fix it, so all visitation has been at my expense. She skips on average 60% of scheduled visitation. She calls maybe once a week, sometimes once every 3 weeks. And she stole from me knowingly and caused my insurance payments to bounce, almost causing a loss of coverage. I did manage to sell my car at no loss. Thankfully, this market is a seller's market. I unfortunately have not returned to work, but I am working on certifications to do something from home. The hours I can work when the kids are in school do not allow me to make enough money to make ends meet. Unemployment actually pays more. Throughout all this, I'm genuinely happy. All the stuff people told me, it gets better, it gets easier, isn't necessarily true. I think they're situational. Her lack of empathy for her kids causes me a lot of stress and headaches. I went full no contact around November. Anyone reading this that made it this far, do it. No contact was the best thing I could have done for myself. The girl I detailed talking to ended up confessing to having feelings for me. We decided to pursue and have been seeing each other for a little while. She's great and knows the traumatic things I went through are not easily forgotten, but she is willing to work through it with me, which is more than I can ask of another person. Our first reaction comes from Pereira 1955. Hi OP, I'm happy that things are becoming better for you, but at the end, you are dealing very well with all of this. No contact with her is the must. Pursue your new relationship since you had all the right to be happy. And had your girlfriend meet already your children? If yes, how is their relationship? OP responds, no contact was extremely difficult, but it was the one move I made that helped secure my sanity. My girlfriend had already known the children for 2 years. She was a coworker and babysat for me on weird days sometimes. She does not have children of her own, so I slowly eased into things and let the children set the pace. It has been great so far. They love her and are always excited for our next outing. HP02121 says, hopefully you have kept records and have made copies for your attorney. She is an unfit mother and perhaps the court will see that and officially give you custody. The OP replies, if there is any advice I can give to any fathers that end up going through a similar situation is that record everything and keep everything. Only communicate through text messages. Don't do anything in person. Back everything up to multiple places. I did this from day one and it has been my savior. When I went to see my lawyer, I handed her over 400 pages of evidence. Belf17 says, good for you, mate, but I would be careful. No doubt your ex will try to do something to mess up your relationship, so record everything. Make a note for everything, just in case you need to get a restraining order or if she tries to take the kids. The OP replies, she has already tried. She went on a ramble a couple of weeks ago about how much she misses me and tried to accuse me of cheating on her while we were married. I am an open book with my girlfriend and tell her about anything and everything in regards to my soon-to-be ex-wife. And yes, I have records of every conversation dating back several years. I got into the habit a few years ago of not deleting things, and it has served me well. I handed my lawyer over 400 pages of evidence. On to the next story. Lingering anger towards bystanders. While I cope with the mess that is my life, I'm also left with anger towards others who were aware that my fiancé was running around with another man. I knew some of these people for many years. Some of them I helped out in some very big ways. I saved one of them from an abusive boyfriend that was beating her outside our house. When my fiancé started running around with this other man, she would sometimes bring her friends or family members with them. These people were fully aware how upset all of this was making me. Several times, they would get prettied up together and walk right past me as I bawled my eyes out, laughing to each other about the good times they were about to have and acting as though I wasn't even there. One in particular, her sister, approached me when I was sobbing my eyes out in the bathroom for the third time that day and asked me if I was okay. Asked if I wanted to talk about anything. And like a fool, I told her everything I was crying about. She acted concerned. She acted supportive. She even told me that I was right to be upset and that what my fiancé was doing was wrong. And then she immediately ran back to her sister and told her I was being manipulative and trying to pump her for information. Come to find out, she was encouraging my fiancé to cheat on me the whole time. And nobody told me anything. Nobody spoke up for me and told her, what you're doing is wrong. Nobody said, OP, it's not easy to say, but you need to hear something. Since I share a child with this woman, I will never be completely free of all of them. I'm going to see them sometimes, but when I do see them or hear their voices, I get so angry. You all knew what was going on. You all knew it was absolutely destroying me. I was there for many of you when you were at your lowest, and you just kept quiet and didn't lift a finger. It's hard to keep my mouth shut. Anyone else ever have to deal with this kind of thing? How do you cope? Our first bit of advice comes from Beagle Rules. How you cope is by moving on as far as you can from all of these people. You are not married yet. With how blatant your fiancé was with the cheating, you should leave her. Get a lawyer and bring up the cheating in the custody hearing. You have to deal with the mother of your child, but you do not need to be in a toxic relationship with her. You staying will not help your child. It will teach your child all the wrong lessons about what a loving relationship should be. Get a therapist. First, to work on yourself. Have the therapist help you find the right way to explain to your child why you and mommy are breaking up and will not be around each other. I am saying that it is best for you to not have joint parties with her and her family. You need to do what is best for yourself before you can do what is best for your daughter. A drowning person cannot save anyone else. Get on steady ground and be there for your daughter. Do not aim for coping, aim for striving in life. One more bit of advice from Mac and Pumpkin. I had to leave everyone behind. I don't know who knew my husband was cheating, and I really don't care at this point. People attract what they are, and I am happy I don't have to see some of those horrible people ever again. Cheating is a toxic act, and toxic people attract each other. Just remember that. It's different since you have a child. However, I would be friendly yet distant. Smile with a wave, and then a secret middle finger. Life is too short to worry about a-holes. I am one to just tell everyone what happened. Bring it to light. Be authentic in your experience, but without a lot of emotion. Even if you feel like breaking down. The roaches tend to scatter in the light. Just remember, OP, there are good people in the world. On to the next story. Husband, 34 male, of 7 years, had an emotional affair with his girlfriend, 27 female, and expects me, 37 female, to forgive and forget. My husband lives separately from our daughter and me for most of the week because of work. Due to finances, we live at home with my parents and he stays at a cheap singles apartment. We cannot afford to live together at this time. Initially, I had a lot of problems with this, as he would only come home for a day and then go back. When he was here, he was very attentive and would help me with whatever I needed, and we would message each other daily. But it felt like he didn't care to come home and be with us. He worked 8-hour shifts and said the drive here was exhausting. We would argue a lot about him not being here, and I resolved to be less selfish because he claimed to be under so much stress and I wasn't seeing his side of things. Long story short, I found out that he was carrying out an emotional affair at the very least with a woman who stayed part-time in the same apartment building for at least 3 months. I'd met this woman and her boyfriend. We had even stayed overnight at their house a couple of times. I never noticed anything at the time, I guess because we hardly saw each other. I feel like he was a bit devious in how he presented her to me as well. He insisted that I meet her and speak to her, even though I was an introvert and just wanted to stay inside and read. I ended up liking her. She was financially supported by her boyfriend, who was very nice to me, and was doing a second degree at the local university and smoked a lot of weed. I don't smoke, and I don't really drink anymore either, but she seemed to like a lot of fun and very different from me. Of course, she was very attractive. How it was found out was that my husband sent her a message that he was already missing her, and her boyfriend saw it and ended up finding messages between them where they talked about sexual things. He had sent a dick pic. She replied with sexually suggestive comments, and they talked about the need for secrecy. She even slept over in his apartment sometimes. They hung out outside of the apartment as well. She admitted to her boyfriend that she had not screwed my husband yet, but she fully intended to. Then said that I knew and planned to have a threesome with them. However, when the boyfriend threatened to tell me, she begged him not to and said he would ruin our family, so he knew that was a lie. He ended up reaching out to me on social media while I was shopping and relayed what he read. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. I detest cheating and cheaters, and he knows this. While I've had minor issues early on with what I felt was flirtatious behavior from him and women he would interact with, he had stopped when I mentioned it was inappropriate and embarrassing to me. He presents a good Christian man, and I expected better. My husband's reaction to the revelation in retrospect was kind of baffling. First, he said it was not a big deal. He didn't think he had done anything wrong since he had never had sex with her. I kept trying to explain, and it was like talking to a brick wall. He said if I was in his position, he wouldn't make a big deal out of it. No empathy for me and what I was going through. A part of me felt like I was in an alternate reality watching this happen to someone else. He said she was just a friend in the times that he needed someone to talk to, and she understood him and listened to him, implying that I couldn't or wouldn't. That all the sexual stuff happened when he was drunk and couldn't even remember sending the dick pic. In fact, he first broached his infidelity in a trickle-truth way by saying that apparently he sent her a dick pic and her boyfriend found it. When I asked what that meant, he said he has no recollection of sending it, but the boyfriend had seen it, so it would appear that he did send it. My husband has a scientific bent of mind and is a logical person while I am more emotional and reactive. However, he expected me to believe that he never even kissed this woman, that it's just a really intimate friendship, and truly thought he had done nothing wrong. I asked him why he had their messages on a disappearing chat, if it was all just friendship and innocent, and he had no answer. There's a lot more I could add that was mind-boggling, but it's been like 6 weeks, and though he has apologized and I decided to try to work it out for our daughter, I feel like I still have not accepted the gravity of what happened or really think he is wrong. She and the boyfriend have broken up since, even though they had given it a second try and she lives in the same apartment now full-time. He felt comfortable admitting to me that he missed their camaraderie and needed time to stop talking to her. That's right, he still talks to her. When I try to get him to see my point of view and how hurtful this is, he gets angry and visibly shuts down. He seemingly wants to focus on the future and forget about this, but I can't. I feel he hasn't shown me enough remorse or accountability. I've realized after going through his phone that he has always been a little inappropriate with his female friends. I am humiliated. My family never wanted me to marry him in the first place, but now they love him. If they found out he did this to me, they would hate him. The advice I'm looking for at this time is if I'm being gaslit or manipulated. He never outright said that I was to blame for him turning to her, but he did mention a couple of times that I'm mentally fragile and don't have time for him and he needed someone to talk to, and that I never wanted to have sex anymore. For what it's worth, on a good week, he comes home twice for a few hours and wants sex. I'm expected to be receptive sexually to whatever random time he pops in for a visit. That's not how my body works. Whenever I want to get some closure, he gets angry or looks bored. When we talk recently, he complains about how stressful his job is and it makes me feel guilty about bringing up the stuff that bothers me. The thing is, he said the same thing while he was in the middle of the emotional affair, and he somehow found the time to talk and go out with this woman. While I was here raising our child in circumstances that are far from ideal, he was doing his own thing and making me feel bad when I asked him why he wasn't coming home. So I don't know if I'm being too naive or what. Something just doesn't sit right with my soul. How could he be sorry if he doesn't see what he did was terrible? They both still live there, and I just have to take his word that nothing is happening between them. I'm not in a position to leave him right now. Our first reaction is from goodness gracious. You're being lied to, gaslit, and manipulated. 99% they've already slept together. You don't get to keep an affair partner in your life. He's not even breaking it off? Then, hands down, her happiness is more important than yours. He's more worried about missing out on their little things than your entire marriage. I'm sorry to cut it straight, but I think you need to hear it or want to. He's not sorry. If he was, he would do anything in his power to fix this. He would cut her off completely, figure out a new living arrangement. I am so sorry you're going through this, but he already has another place to live and he's already in another relationship. Change the locks and figure out visitation with the kids. You are in a position to leave him, but he has already left you. You're staying with family. You have support. Next bit of advice from Constant Courage 4593. I 100% agree. I'm all for trying to reconcile, but at this point, even I don't see it. He's already got another life set up. Now that his affair partner is single, there isn't anything stopping them since you live separately. He prioritizes his other life over you, and there aren't any consequences for his actions. Tell your family. Talk to an attorney. Talk to a therapist or someone you trust. You shouldn't be second place to his affair partner. Destiny89 Becomes Me chimes in with, honey, he's still having an affair and he's not sorry. He's pissed he got caught. You're already halfway out the door. Tell him it's done. You deserve better because you really, really do. No Wrongdoer 7346 chimes in, you're absolutely being gaslit. My recommendation is to get into individual counseling as soon as possible. A therapist can help you process the trauma you've just experienced. They can also help you realize that his decision to cheat is all about him. The OP has the last word. I really needed to hear this. I'm having a hard time to not feel like this stuff isn't my fault. She's younger and thinner, and she offered him a stress-free environment. She's a fun time. Thanks for replying.